a local star, and now they're family, and they have odd parents, fairly odd parents.
Normal floating fish, until you grant your wish.
Odd parents, fairly odd parents. News shirt, insert dessert. Swimwear, lace chair, chop square, time to share. Full throat, clear foam, dynamo, silly claw. Odd parents, fairly odd parents. It's what you made when you were a kid with fairly odd parents in real life.
Hello, you're listening to a special bonus episode of Storytelling Saga, the podcast that shares stories. I'm your host, Allie, and I'm talking about an episode of the Fairly OddParents, Fairly Odder. So if you listened to my episode about the Fairly OddParents, I really went down a rabbit hole revisiting that show. I wasn't planning on doing a whole big episode about this show in the first place, but I just kept rewatching a bunch of episodes and just so many quotes and all the joy of revisiting that show. And so I was curious about this reboot. I was like, I gotta see this reboot that failed so spectacularly that it was removed from Paramount Plus altogether. So the episode I watched was called Roynocchio. So the premise of the show, from what I gather, is that the main character is Vivian Turner, Timmy Turner's relative, and her stepbrother Roy, who now share Cosmo and Wanda, and I guess they take turns making wishes. And my brain short-circuited watching this show. It's a sitcom. It's like a cheesy sitcom, and it's basically 90% sitcom, 10% animation with Cosmo and Wanda. What I will say is Cosmo and Wanda, the designs looked pretty cool. They're wands and wings, floaty crowny things. No, their wands and crowns were glowing. I thought that was a nice touch. And their wings were fluttering, so slightly more detailed in the design. But the animation itself is kind of like that rigged puppetry type animation. Like not Flash, maybe it was Flash. I don't know, I can't really tell. But they still are voiced by Suzanne Blakesley and Darren Norris. Kudos to these actors. They are still able to voice these characters. It's been 25 years, on and off, voicing these characters. They can still voice these two. It wouldn't be the same with any other actors, so I'm glad. It's so funny. Again, I don't understand how Darren Norris hits that high register in his voice naturally. It's just kind of not human. I don't know how he does that high helium voice as Cosmo. It's kind of amazing to me. It's mind-boggling. And the plot for this episode was Roy was running for class president, and so is a rich kid in their class, Noah Bucks Aplenty. Is he related to, Remy Bucks Aplenty, or no relation there? Who knows? It seemed like they just took templates from the animated show and just said, okay, here's a live action version of this character, but with a different name. Because there was also the mayor, but it was a baby doll, a literal baby doll, and then just some dude. Was it the dad? I don't know. But my brain melted. I'm still processing. I'm like, what did I just watch? Why did I watch this? What am I watching? Well, I watched it because I was curious, but it felt like a fever dream. It felt like a parody of, it's just weird. If it was just a sitcom with, not separated from, not Fairly OddParents universe, then it's just a cheesy family sitcom, which is fine. But because it's Fairly OddParents related, it's trying to mesh with the 2D, with the animated world, and Cosmo and Wanda were first buttons on Vivian's shirt. You see a green and pink button, but then the buttons were just normal. And then Cosmo and Wanda poofed in, and the conflict basically was Roy wished he was a puppet. I don't know why. And then Cosmo's like, you got it. So immediately he's a puppet then. And then with the rules, I'm trying to make sense of the plot. It doesn't even matter, but Vivian couldn't unwish it, and then Roy couldn't unwish it because he's a puppet now and he's not a real boy. And then Cosmo's they're like, oh, what are we going to do? And then Cosmo's like, well, we could call my ex-girlfriend. I was like, I did a double take. I was like, what? Excuse me? What? Ex-girlfriend? What is this? So they gave Cosmo an ex-girlfriend, and I was like, what? Okay. I mean, and then Wanda was fucking pissed. It was just so funny seeing that switch then. You think Cosmo's jealous with Wandissimo, but seeing Wanda jealous over Cosmo's ex-girlfriend. What in the world? So apparently she knows about puppetry. That was a choice. That was really weird, but she was immediately pissed off. It was so funny, actually. It was just kind of really, really bizarre. And he was like, oh, well, Wanda's mad because she's really pretty and we used to date. And then, like, she, like, clonks him on the head. And then Roy is stuck as a puppet. And the parents show up. The parents were really funny for what it's worth. They were doing, especially the mom, like, doing, like, this kind of purposely over-the-top cartoony performance because, like, they wanted to do... because, like, there's this talent competition going on, and they see the Roy puppet, and it's like, oh, wow, you made a puppet out of Roy? That's so cool. Like, we could enter this into the talent competition. And then the mom's like, yeah, the talent competition. She, like, flicks her leg. It was funny. It was, like, weird. Like, you know, I actually laughed a couple of times. I was like, this is so weird, but I don't know why I'm watching this. I don't know why I subjected myself to this, but I am weirdly enjoying it. So then they go to the talent competition. There's some celeb who's clearly supposed to be like a Chip Skylark, but he has a different name. And so then Vivian is just like, okay, we're doing this talent competition. So her and Roy, so they're just singing and dancing. And then this ventriloquist dude shows up, this random villain, I guess, and he is like doing like this Italian accent. So he's supposed to be like a Geppetto, I guess. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna like steal your puppet. And then he does. He steals the puppet. And then also like he tells a lie, and of course his nose grows. And then I can barely like make sense of the plot. Then Cosmo and Wanda show up again. They're like exhausted. They're like, oh, we're trying to figure out how we can like make Roy a real boy again. And then Cosmo's like, well, we could ask. And like she gets pissed off again, Wanda. And then Roy's like, Wanda, you don't need to be jealous. Cosmo loves you. And like he always talks about how much he loves you. And then she's like, oh, Cosmo, which was cute. And then Vivian was like, oh yeah, see, his nose didn't grow, so you know he's telling the truth. So she's like, okay, we'll call. And then Cosmo's like, yeah, she's already here. So then this fairy shows up, and she was just, just kind of like how Wandissimo was immediately putting the moves on Wanda. This girl was like, oh, hi, cute Smo, give me a kiss. And then Wanda's like immediately pissed off. And it was fucking weird. She's like, I'm just kidding. I can't get over that they gave Cosmo an ex-girlfriend, but it was funny seeing the reversal and seeing Wanda super possessive. So then she's like, well, you just gotta tell the truth. And then Roy says, Vivian would be a better class president than me. So then that makes him a real boy again. And also they got rid of the ventriloquist guy because like then they had to distract him. So like she took a sandwich and like threw it. And then he's like, oh no, a sandwich. I gotta like go deal with this. It's gonna take my attention away for a few minutes. Like purposely on the nose stuff like that. I mean, like, self-aware stuff like that makes me laugh. So that was funny, but he was weird. Then like afterwards he called his mom. He's like, Ma, you proud of me? No. Like, I don't know what the hell's up with these characters. This was really weird. But so he was a real boy again. Then she's like trying to, this brandy fairy, and she's like blue and like, she was fucking weird. She's like trying to kiss Cosmo, and then Wanda's like, oh, I'll give you something for the kisser, and then like she like poofs in like a like punching mechanism thing, like fucking clocks her like violent. Jealous Wanda was hilarious. She's like, no one like tries to kiss my man. She like fucking clocked this fairy. It was so funny. Knocks her off screen. She's like, oh, I fell in a bush. Then that fairy disappeared. And then Cosmo was like, I love you, Wanda. And she's like, I love you too, Sugar Biscuit. The little cute pet names are back. I found it funny that it came full circle of now they're cute and lovey again, even though like some weird questionable things, but that was cute. And then they kissed and poofed away, so, I think they just went to go fuck. So, yeah, that's about all I gotta say. It was fucking weird. It was fucking interesting. It was, like, over-the-top cartoony. Some weird things. The actors, like, giving it their all. And then after all that, though, Vivian got 0 votes. Poor Vivian. And then the rich kid won after all that anyway. He's like, oh, money as always solves everything. So he was like giving them all, like just throwing cash at these kids. And she's like, well, I voted for him too. Like, she took the bribe. So that was Fairly OddParents, Fairly Odder. It made my brain melt a little bit because, again, it was fucking bizarre. But oddly enough, I enjoyed it in spite of everything. What I gotta say is I feel like it'd be a fun show to watch not sober, honestly. Like, just, it seemed like it'd be fun to watch not sober. And again, kudos to Darren Norris and Suzanne Blake so they can still do these voices and the chemistry is still there, like with Cosmo and Wanda. But that was funny. Yeah, so they added more to the character. That was weird. I can't get over they gave Cosmo an ex-girlfriend, and that was so fucking funny. But, they're very cute, Cosmo and Wanda. So, that's about all I gotta say. Overall, yeah, it was just really weird. Cosmo and Wanda were the best part about it, in my opinion, though. And that's just being biased from loving them from the OG series, and especially the early seasons. But, yep. So, I don't need to do the outro because this is a bonus episode, but yeah, so that's about it. See ya.